So, no, I wouldn't say I have a passion for HR.
Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. Today I'm going to be reacting to some new child labor laws that are coming out. This article comes from USA Today, and it says Republicans push for teenagers as young as 14 to work in restaurants and industrial jobs. And, well, for one, I think that OSHA has a lot to say about that, and OSHA's regulations ultimately overrule the states with respect to these types of things. I'm not sure that it really matters. But regardless, let's take a look at this article and then talk about what we actually see. So you see here, past 2 years, labor lawmakers in at least 11 states have sought to loosen child labor laws to help employers fill empty jobs. And many and federal officials are saying, well, this is exploited children or hurt children. And so the article prefaces with the fact that the unemployment rate is at 3.5% and businesses are struggling to find workers. There's a lot going on there, but I'm not even going to get into why that's the case. Regardless, some state legislators, including Republicans, are seeing teenagers as a solution. This gives teens valuable work experiences. I'm not sure. Some of these work experiences are not that valuable, but it is easier for them to supplement their family's income. Quite often, families who are quite poor. So this does seem like an anti-poverty law to some degree, although education, of course, is one of the tickets out of poverty. So is hard work, though, and we want to be clear about that. Uh, and opponents say the bills, allegedly backed by business groups, I'd like to see what the numbers are an attempt to roll back crucial child labor protections that are nearly a century old. And so, a lawmaker says, well, there's a reason we don't do this anymore. And, we have those images of children working in dangerous work situations, which you can see here. There was no federal law against child labor in 1920. That was changed in 1938 with the Fair Labor Standards Act. It's also the same act that established minimum wage, among other things. So there's legislation in Iowa that would allow children as young as 14 to work in meat coolers and industrial laundries. That doesn't really, I guess it depends on what kind of meat cooler, but that doesn't sound like what they're saying. I mean, we're seeing a picture here of some children that are, in some looks like very physically demanding positions. A meat cooler and a laundry is not exactly that. Um, and then there's apparently a proposal that would allow 16 and 17-year-olds to work on construction sites. Honestly, I think that OSHA would push back on that and that the federal rules would override here. But regardless, eliminating work opportunities for youth just because of their age will make it even harder for businesses to find reliable employees. True. And I wanted to talk about this one, right? So Arkansas and Tennessee enacted changes last month. A new Arkansas law removes a requirement that children under the age of 16 provide proof of parental consent to work. Okay, but let's skip over to a law coming out of Washington now. We have this law out of Washington where it allows transgender medical procedures for minors without parental consent, right? So these are potentially life-changing, potentially, right? It's not always, but potentially life-changing decisions with respect to medical care, and it's being done without parental consent and with no age limit, right? So there is no that I can find. I read the bill's text. It doesn't seem like there's like under 12, under 13, but I could have missed it, right? But regardless, here minors can make decisions with respect to medical procedures without parental consent. So let's consider that in context with this, which just allows children, allows the removal of a requirement that children under 16 provide parental consent to work. Now, obviously situations can be quite dangerous, and as a result, and that could be life changing, perhaps, I suppose. But I don't think it's as life changing as medical procedures. And, yes, Arkansas is removing a requirement that children under the age of 16 provide proof of parental consent to work. But it seems like if I had to summarize what I believe the culture is going to, it's to treat children more as adults as it is, and it's regardless of the nature of what they're actually doing, right? And so we ought to be cognizant of that and recognize that it seems to be across the aisle with respect to treating children this way, and that Republicans seem to want to allow them to work, like you can see, without parental consent, which I don't know about that. Uh, but we also treat them that they can make medical procedures as well. So they make the decisions with respect to medical decisions. So I'm not sure. I understand that it harkens back to the past. I get that concept, but with respect to child workers, but those were also awful positions. And this is ultimately, as far as I can tell, an anti-poverty law, right? This is an opportunity for poorer people to let their children improve their life and improve the family and everything else. You can make a lot of arguments either way. I get it, but if we're going to make the decision that they can make medical procedure decisions, I think they can work too. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I recognize that this is controversial, but I do also recognize that this is an interesting situation. And do I agree necessarily with with children working these positions? No, I don't think I do. I don't think that that is value added, especially in the dangerous ones. But also, we allow them to make medical decisions, and that is being pushed across the culture. And if we are treating them like grown-ups, we should probably embrace it all the way. Let me know in the comments down below. Like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye, guys.